For many people, retirement is when life finally opens up. The kids are grown, the work is done, and the world, for the first time in a long time, feels open again. You start to plan the trips you never had time for, the coastlines you dreamed of walking, the mountains you always meant to see, the family reunions, the cruises, the quiet beach towns. But if you're over 70 and you're preparing for your next journey, there's something you need to hear. Because while traveling in your later years can be a beautiful, life-giving experience, it also comes with risks. Real risks. Ones that no travel agent, tour guide, or website talks about. Risks that can turn a trip into a trauma. Risks that can threaten your health, your dignity, and, in some cases, your life. This video is not here to scare you. It's here to prepare you. Because once you pass 70, traveling is no longer just about where you're going. It's about how your body will respond along the way, and whether your plans take your age and your vulnerabilities seriously. Before we go any further, I want to speak directly to you, the person watching. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, and you still have places to see, memories to make, and miles you want to walk, subscribe to this channel now. Every week, we speak to the truths most people avoid: aging, grief, purpose, healing, strength, and yes, survival. Because getting older doesn't mean giving up. It means becoming wiser, more intentional, and more aware of what's at stake. And if you've ever traveled and come home feeling more exhausted than fulfilled, or worse, if you've had a medical scare on the road, like this video now, because chances are someone else is watching who's been through the same thing, and they need to know they're not alone. Now let me ask you something, and answer it honestly. When was the last time you planned a trip around your energy instead of your bucket list? When was the last time you adjusted a schedule, not because you had to, but because you chose to protect your body first? Because for most of us, especially those of us raised to push through, to keep up, to never complain, we don't realize the cost of travel until it's too late. Until we're breathless in a hotel hallway, until we're disoriented in a foreign airport, until we miss a dose of medication, or forget to hydrate, or walk farther than our joints were built to go. And we tell ourselves it's nothing. We downplay the warning signs. We tell our families, "I'm fine." But inside, we know we're pushing past a boundary our body quietly asked us not to cross. This is why we need to talk. Because there are 5 hidden dangers that can turn a beautiful journey into a health emergency. And no one tells you about them. Not the airline, not the tour brochure, not even your travel insurance. But they're real, and they're preventable if you know what to watch for. In this video, we're going to explore those 5 dangers, one by one, each one more subtle and more serious than the last. We'll talk about the myth of just pushing through fatigue, the silent threat of blood clots on long flights, the hidden dehydration of travel days, the overlooked stress of time zone disruption on aging brains, and how travel plans that don't account for mobility, medication, and sleep can lead to confusion, falls, or worse. But more than that, we'll talk about what you can do, how to travel smart, how to travel with grace, with awareness, and with safeguards that honor the life you've lived and the body that's carried you through it. So if you have a trip planned, or if you're dreaming of one, stay with me. The freedom to travel is a gift. But after 70, that freedom comes with responsibility to your body, to your safety, and to the people who love you. Let's begin, because the first danger is the one most people ignore, and it starts long before you ever leave home. It begins before the suitcase is zipped, before the boarding pass is printed, before your feet ever leave the driveway. It starts in the planning, in the pressure, in the push to get everything ready before you go. And for many seniors over 70, this is the first and most overlooked danger of travel. You ignore the fatigue that's already building before the trip even begins. You tell yourself, "I'll rest once I get there. I just need to power through these next few days. It's worth it, I'll be fine." But here's the truth. Your body doesn't care about your itinerary. It doesn't care about your hotel reservations or your sightseeing schedule. It only knows one thing: when it's tired and when it's being ignored. And that kind of pre-trip exhaustion isn't just about being busy. It's about the compounded toll of making multiple phone calls and bookings, double-checking medications and packing lists, rearranging appointments, mail, pet care, navigating new tech, QR codes, airline check-ins, mobile apps, dealing with anxiety about flying, timing, or unfamiliar places. In your younger years, this kind of buildup felt manageable. You pushed through. Maybe you even thrived on the excitement. But after 70, here's what changes, and no one warns you. Your recovery time increases. Your energy reserves shrink. And just one day of overdoing it can wipe out your immune response, disrupt your digestion, elevate your blood pressure, and trigger a cascade of issues you won't feel until you're already on the road. This is why so many older adults start their vacations already worn down. And within 24 hours, they're dizzy, lightheaded, sleep-deprived, confused, even in danger. It's not because travel is too hard. It's because they started the journey already running on empty. Let me ask you something with real seriousness. How do you usually feel the night before a trip? Do you go to bed calm, well-rested, and mentally prepared? Or do you collapse into sleep, stressed, and running through lists in your mind? Do you wake up excited or already tired? If you recognize that worn-out feeling, that edge of burnout disguised as preparation, your body is speaking to you. It's telling you that your trip begins long before takeoff. And if you're not rested before you go, you'll pay the price once you arrive. So what can you do? Let me offer some guidance that could change your entire experience. Begin preparing at least 1 week in advance. Spread out tasks. Don't pack the day before. Give your nervous system time to adjust. Schedule a full day of rest before departure. Nothing else. No appointments. No errands. Just slow, quiet preparation. Decline non-essential tasks in the week leading up. This is not selfish. This is survival. You cannot start a trip from depletion. Set realistic expectations for what you'll do on day 1. Travel days take more out of you than they used to. Allow for naps. Eat light. Hydrate deeply. Tell family or travel companions in advance. My pace may be slower. Please don't rush me. Let's build in buffer time. Because the goal isn't just to make it there. It's to feel good when you arrive. It's to preserve your strength for what matters. The experience itself, not the chaos around it. And if no one has told you this before, let me be the one. You do not have to match the pace of your 40s. You do not have to prove anything by pushing through. You have earned the right to protect your energy, because that energy is precious. If you've ever arrived at a destination feeling more exhausted than excited, leave a comment with the words, "I started too tired." Because naming the pattern is the first step to changing it. And your honesty might help someone else realize they've been doing the same thing. And if this part of the video gave you clarity, if it made you pause and think about how you're preparing for your next trip, like the video now, that one action helps this reach other seniors who've been conditioned to ignore their fatigue until their bodies force them to stop. And subscribe if you haven't yet, because in the next part, we're going to talk about a much more serious and often deadly risk. What happens when you sit for too long in the wrong position and don't realize what's building inside your body until it's too late? Yes, we're talking about blood clots, but not in the way you've heard before. Stay with me. This one has taken lives, but it doesn't have to take yours. You board the plane. You settle in. Buckle up. Close your eyes. It's a long flight, maybe 6 hours, maybe 10. You expect to be stiff when you land, a little swollen in the ankles. You assume it's normal. But what if it's not? What if that tightness in your calf isn't just soreness? What if it's the beginning of something far more dangerous? Because after the age of 70, one of the most silent and deadly threats during long travel, especially air travel, is something few talk about enough. Deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot that forms in the legs while you sit still for hours. And if it dislodges, it can travel to your lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism, and in some cases, death, before anyone even knows what happened. Let me say this clearly. This is not rare. This is not something that only happens to sick people. This is a real, under-discussed risk for seniors, especially those who fly, drive, or sit for extended periods without movement. So how does it happen? When you sit for long periods, on a plane, in a car, or even in an airport terminal, the muscles in your legs don't contract. That means blood doesn't flow efficiently back to the heart. It begins to pool in the deep veins of your legs, especially the calves. And if you already have slower circulation, vascular disease, or take certain medications, that pooled blood can begin to form a clot. You may not feel it right away, or you might mistake it for soreness, cramping, or tightness. But if the clot breaks off, if it moves toward your lungs, the result can be sudden shortness of breath, chest pain, collapse, or worse, no warning at all. This is not about fear. This is about awareness. Because DVT is preventable, but only if you know the signs and the steps to reduce your risk. Let me ask you, when was the last time you moved your legs during a flight? Not just once to go to the bathroom, but every hour, every 30 minutes, on purpose? When was the last time you wore compression socks? When was the last time you hydrated deeply before and during travel? When was the last time you knew your personal clotting risk? If you don't know the answers, don't feel ashamed. You're not alone. No one talks about this, but we are. Here's what you can start doing to protect yourself, starting now. Move every hour, without exception. If you're on a plane, stand up, walk the aisle, or flex and extend your legs in your seat. In the car, stop at a rest area and walk a few minutes. Stay hydrated. Dehydration thickens the blood. Bring your own water bottle. Don't rely on small beverage service cups. Wear compression socks. They're not just for show. They reduce pooling and promote circulation in the lower legs. Avoid alcohol and caffeine before and during travel. They increase dehydration and can narrow blood vessels. Talk to your doctor. If you have a personal or family history of clotting, or take medications like estrogen, hormone therapy, or certain blood pressure drugs, ask if you're at elevated risk and if temporary blood thinners should be considered before long flights. And most importantly, listen to your body. If you feel a tightness, swelling, warmth, or pain in one leg, especially the calf, do not ignore it. Don't wait until you're home. Seek medical care right away. You could save your own life. Because DVT is called the economy class syndrome for a reason. It preys on stillness, on assumptions, on silence. But now that you know, you don't have to be afraid. You just have to be prepared. If you've ever landed from a trip and felt unusual pain or swelling in your legs, comment below with, "I didn't know the risk." Because speaking up might help someone realize their discomfort isn't just normal travel fatigue. And if this section of the video made you rethink how you move during trips, like the video now, that small act could alert someone else to take a walk, put on socks, or drink that extra bottle of water before it's too late. And if you haven't subscribed, this is the time. Because in the next part, we're going to talk about something far more subtle. A danger that sneaks in through a dry throat, a foggy mind, and an aching body, and yet, most people dismiss it as nothing. Yes, we're talking about dehydration, but not the kind that makes you thirsty, the kind that makes you confused. Stay with me. This one catches people off guard, and it hits harder after 70. You wake up in the hotel room. Your mouth feels dry. Your muscles are sore. Your thoughts are cloudy. Names escape you. You can't remember where you left your glasses or why you walked into the bathroom. You brush it off. Maybe it's jet lag. Maybe it's age. Maybe it's just the stress of travel. But what if it's something far simpler and far more dangerous? What if it's dehydration, not just of the body, but of the brain? Because for older adults, dehydration doesn't always show up the way it used to. You don't always feel thirsty. You may not notice sweat. And by the time the symptoms show up, they're already affecting your heart, your blood pressure, and your cognition. Let's break it down. As we age, our bodies lose water more easily and hold on to it less efficiently. Our sense of thirst becomes duller, and many seniors, trying to avoid nighttime bathroom trips or incontinence during flights, intentionally reduce fluid intake before or during travel. Add to that, airplane cabins with humidity levels lower than the Sahara Desert, airport stress that increases cortisol and depletes electrolytes, long periods without access to clean water or familiar routines, increased urination from certain medications, caffeine, or alcohol, and new climates that your body isn't adapted to. And what you get is a perfect storm, one that often leads to confusion, dizziness or lightheadedness, dry mouth and eyes, muscle cramps, constipation, heart palpitations, mood changes, and in some cases, delirium, fainting, or hospitalization. Yes, hospitalization. Many seniors are admitted for what appears to be cognitive decline or infection, only to find that the root cause was severe dehydration, and it started on a plane, or a bus, or somewhere in the middle of a rushed itinerary. Let me ask you something directly. Have you ever gone hours without drinking water while traveling, just to avoid using public restrooms, or because you didn't want to inconvenience others? Have you ever felt foggy or faint after a flight or long ride and told yourself, I just need to rest? That's not aging. That's your body asking for water and being denied. So how do you protect yourself? Start by thinking of hydration not as something you do if you feel thirsty, but as something you schedule, like medication. Here are simple, life-saving strategies. Drink at least 8 to 16 ounces of water before leaving home. Pack a reusable water bottle and refill it at every opportunity. Avoid or limit caffeine and alcohol, especially during air travel. They act as diuretics and accelerate fluid loss. Set hydration reminders. Every hour while in transit, take at least a few sips. In hot climates, increase intake by 30 to 50%. You're losing water even when you're not sweating visibly. Choose hydrating foods. Fruits, soups, and even smoothies can provide water with nutrients. Monitor your urine color. Dark yellow means you're already behind. And perhaps most importantly, don't be embarrassed about needing the restroom more often. Needing to pee means your body is working. Needing to hydrate means you're still alive. If this sounds like you, if you've ever skipped water on purpose while traveling, comment below with the words, I didn't drink enough. Because admitting the habit is the first step to changing it, and your voice might give someone else permission to stop being ashamed of needing care. And if this part of the video made you rethink your travel routine, like the video now, that small act may help someone else avoid confusion, fatigue, or even an emergency room visit in an unfamiliar place. And subscribe if you haven't yet, because the next danger is one that's invisible on the outside, but deeply disruptive on the inside. It doesn't come with pain or swelling. It comes with disorientation. It comes with forgetting your room number. It comes with feeling like the ground has shifted beneath your feet and not knowing why. Yes, we're talking about circadian disruption and travel-induced confusion, the kind that doesn't just make you tired, it can make you vulnerable. Stay with me, because this one is subtle, but it's costing seniors more than we realize. You land in a new city. The air smells different. The light feels sharper. The sounds are unfamiliar. You check into the hotel, unpack your bag, sit on the edge of the bed, and something feels off. Your heart is racing. You can't remember what time it is, not just by the clock, but in your body. You don't know if you're hungry or not, tired or restless, alert or fading. You chalk it up to jet lag, just part of the trip. But what if it's more than that? What if your body's entire rhythm has been thrown off, and it's affecting more than just your energy? Because one of the most underestimated dangers of travel after 70 is this. Circadian disruption, the disturbance of your internal clock, and the confusion, disorientation, and even cognitive decline that can follow. Let me explain. Your body is governed by a 24-hour biological rhythm, known as the circadian cycle. It controls everything from your sleep, digestion, body temperature, hormone release, and alertness levels. It's synchronized to light, routine, and repetition, things that most travel disrupts completely. Now in your younger years, this system could reset quickly. You could fly across time zones, stay up late, eat at odd hours, and recover in a day or two. But after 70, that adaptability fades. The body becomes far less efficient at adjusting to time zone changes, sleep schedule shifts, and meal timing inconsistencies. And when your circadian rhythm is thrown off, especially while you're in an unfamiliar place, it doesn't just make you sleepy. It can trigger nighttime confusion, disturb your memory and focus, cause mood swings or irritability, impair judgment and reaction times, elevate blood pressure, interrupt digestion, weaken immune response, and in serious cases, lead to delirium, a sudden and severe form of confusion, especially in frail older adults. It's not just being a little off. It's your brain saying, I don't know where I am, in space or in time. And for many seniors, this kind of disorientation can lead to falls, medication errors, missed meals, lost belongings, and in some cases, hospitalization. Now ask yourself, have you ever taken a trip and felt off for days afterward? Not just tired, but mentally disconnected? Have you ever woken up in a hotel room and panicked, not knowing where you were for a moment or longer? Have you ever skipped meals, felt emotionally overwhelmed, or slept at strange hours during travel and couldn't get back on track? That's not weakness. That's your internal compass spinning without an anchor. But there are ways to protect yourself, even as you travel. Give your body time to adjust. If crossing time zones, arrive early and allow 1 day per hour difference to gently shift. Maintain consistency when possible. Wake, eat, and sleep as close to your normal schedule as you can, especially in the first 72 hours. Use natural light to reset your internal clock. Early morning sun helps regulate melatonin and cortisol release. Avoid naps longer than 30 to 45 minutes. They may disrupt nighttime sleep further. Don't overload your itinerary in the first 2 days. Overexertion worsens circadian stress. If prone to confusion, use grounding tools. A written itinerary by the bedside, a labeled hotel room key, familiar objects near the bed, these provide visual reassurance in a new environment. And perhaps most importantly, if you take medications, especially those for memory, blood pressure, or sleep, make absolutely sure their timing is adjusted properly across time zones. Mistimed medication can compound confusion and destabilize your system further. If you've ever felt mentally disoriented while traveling, if you've lost time, forgotten details, or felt emotionally unstable during a trip, leave a comment with, I felt disconnected. Because this isn't your fault. It's a biological response to disruption, and naming it helps take away the shame. And if this section of the video gave you insight into something you always thought was just getting older, like the video now, that one click might help another senior recognize that their confusion wasn't mental decline, it was jet lag the body couldn't recover from. And subscribe if you haven't yet, because in the final hidden danger we're about to explore, we bring everything full circle. The most overlooked, human, and preventable risk of all, the pressure to keep up, even when your body is asking you to slow down. The emotional burden of pushing beyond your limits to avoid being a burden. Stay with me, because this last danger hides behind politeness, behind good manners. But it takes more from you than you realize. You're on the tour bus. The guide is cheerful, the schedule is packed, and everyone seems excited. There's a walk coming up, just a few stairs, they say. You nod, smile, say, I'm fine. But you're not fine. Your knees ache. Your breathing is shallow. You haven't eaten in hours. You need a bathroom. You need a moment. But you don't speak up. Because the last thing you want to do is slow everyone down. This, right here, is one of the most invisible and dangerous risks for seniors who travel. The pressure to keep up. The internal push to not be the one who complains, asks to rest, or admits, I can't. It doesn't come from others. It comes from you. From a lifetime of being dependable. From decades of showing up, pushing through, never wanting to be a burden. But here's the truth. The most dangerous thing you can do after 70 is pretend you're still 50. Because when you say nothing, when you match their pace, eat what they eat, climb what they climb, walk how they walk, you pay a private price. Maybe it's not immediate. Maybe it's that night, with a sharp pain in your hip. Maybe it's the next day, when you feel dizzy and miss a step. Maybe it's a week later, when your body crashes or your immune system shuts down. And when that happens, people say, "Why didn't you tell us you were tired?" And you say, "I didn't want to ruin it." But here's what I want you to hear. You don't ruin the trip by going at your pace. You ruin your health by pretending you can go at theirs. Because aging gracefully isn't about proving your strength. It's about knowing your limits and respecting them. And let me say this plainly. You are not a burden. You are not less than. You are not failing just because your legs don't move like they used to. You are not ruining the trip because you need to sit down. You are not selfish for asking to slow down. You are wise for protecting the life you still have. Let me ask you honestly, have you ever pushed yourself during travel, not because you wanted to, but because you didn't want to disappoint someone? Have you ever ignored your pain, your hunger, your fatigue, to avoid being that person? If so, you're not weak. You're human, but it's time to stop. Because every time you push past your limits without listening to your body, you increase your risk of falls, fainting, fractures, cardiac stress, sleep collapse, and long-term injury that can follow you home. And for what? To keep up with someone half your age? To avoid a moment of awkwardness? Here's what you can do instead to travel with dignity, without danger. Before the trip, tell your travel companions what you can and can't do comfortably. Set expectations early. Build in quiet time. Every itinerary should have room for recovery, not just activity. Use mobility aids proudly. A cane, a walker, or a support doesn't make you weak. It makes you safe. Schedule meals, rest, and hydration like appointments. Your routine is part of your safety. Speak up when you need a break, and practice saying the words, "I'm going to sit this one out. I'll meet you after." And here's a truth that needs saying. If someone makes you feel guilty for protecting your health, they're not the one you should be adjusting for. If you've ever felt this pressure, this invisible weight to prove you can keep up, leave a comment below with, "I've felt that pressure before." Because the more we talk about it, the more we normalize travel that respects our pace, not just someone else's plan. And if this message gave you permission to say no, to rest, or to care for yourself more kindly, like the video now. Because your click may lift that same pressure off someone else's shoulders before it leads to a fall they never recover from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment. Because we don't talk about aging here in terms of fear. We talk about it in terms of truth, power, and dignity. And your dignity is worth protecting, even on vacation. In the final part of this video, we'll bring it all together. What safe, wise, and empowered travel really looks like after 70. And why it's not about doing less, but about doing what matters in a way that keeps you here to enjoy it. Let's finish the journey together. You've heard the 5 hidden dangers. The exhaustion that begins before you even leave. The silent threat of blood clots from long hours of sitting still. The quiet dehydration that clouds your mind and weakens your body. The internal clock that loses its rhythm in unfamiliar time zones. And the most invisible danger of all, the pressure to keep up when your body is begging you to slow down. Now you might be thinking, should I even be traveling at this age? Is it still worth it? Let me tell you this, from one person who understands what aging feels like to another. Yes, you should still travel. Yes, you should still see the world. Yes, you should still visit your children, take that cruise, walk that beach, stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon. But you should do it with the same care, preparation, and respect you've earned after 70 years of living. Traveling at this age isn't about giving up adventure. It's about protecting the vessel that carries you through it. It's about traveling not as a tourist, but as an elder, with wisdom, with awareness, and with the authority to say, this is what I need to feel safe. Because aging doesn't take away your right to see the world. It gives you a deeper reason to see it slowly, intentionally, and on your terms. You've spent a lifetime making things easier for others. Now it's your turn to ask, what would make this journey easier for me? What would make it joyful instead of exhausting? What would keep me well, not just moving, but thriving? Let me leave you with a few final reminders before your next trip. Start rested. Preparation matters more than departure time. Move often. Your circulation isn't what it was, but you can keep it flowing. Hydrate more than you think you need to. Your mind depends on it. Honor your internal clock. Your energy is wiser than the itinerary. Speak up. Ask for support. Rest without apology. You've earned every right to set the pace. And above all, let go of the pressure to prove anything. You're not here to impress. You're here to live. Because the most beautiful travel photos, they're not just landscapes. They're the quiet moments. You sitting in peace at a cafe. You smiling at someone across a train aisle. You taking in a sunset with no one rushing you to move on. Those are the moments you came for, and those are the ones your body will remember. If this video gave you clarity, relief, or permission to approach travel differently, comment with, "I'll travel wisely," not as a limitation, but as a declaration. And if you've made mistakes in the past, if you've pushed too hard, gone too fast, or ignored your needs on the road, comment with, "Next time, I'll listen." Because it's never too late to travel smarter. It's never too late to protect your strength. And it's never too late to enjoy the journey without harming the life that still has so much to give. If you haven't already, like this video, not for vanity, but so this message finds someone else preparing for a trip, still packing guilt and over-planning into their suitcase instead of grace and care. And subscribe, because this channel isn't about slowing down. It's about growing deeper. And there's no better travel companion than wisdom. You are not too old. You are not fragile. You are seasoned. You are sacred. And you are still going places. But from now on, you'll do it on your own terms. Safe travels. We'll be right here when you get back.